Hello, this is Dave again. Got a game here for us. This will be an English opening. ECO code is A20. The players are Neverjeanette and Capello. I believe I pronounced them correctly. This game was played in Milan in 1970. Our themes will be attacking the weak squares. So let's see how the game goes. This will be an English opening, like I said, and white opens with C4, E5, G3, D6, bishop to G2, bishop to E7, and knight to C3. White follows his plan of controlling the light squares using his bishop and knight to control these light squares and the long diagonal. Black plays C6, and black takes away the key D5 square for white. The pawn here controls it, prevents white from bringing a knight in there, or possibly a bishop or another piece. And this is a very important move for black because it kind of disrupts white's plans of this key control of this D5 square. The next move is 5D3. Black plays F5. Black expands on the king side. He'll have more space there, and therefore he'll be playing on that side of the board. This is a very aggressive defense by black, and I think if you are on the black side against English, this might be a good setup for you to follow, especially as you'll see how the game progresses. White continues his ideas of playing on the queen side, and he plays his rook to B1. Now black plays knight to F6, continuing his development. White plays E4, kind of putting pressure on black's pawn structure there on the king side, fighting for space in the center, and also trying to take more control of the D5 square. Black castles. White plays knight at G to E2. Next is knight to A6, and I guess what his idea here is possibly to bring this knight to C7 and pushing here at D5, or he could be playing the knight to B4 and then dropping it back to C7 after possibly maybe white plays a move like A3, chasing the knight back. The next move is by white, and he plays B4, expanding on the queen side, and this is the side of the board that white wants to play on, so this is a very logical move. It follows the themes of the English opening. Possibly a better move might have been castling, bringing the king to safety, but I think the B4 move is very playable. Next move is black plays queen to E8, and this is a very common move seen by black in positions with the f-pawn advanced, and is also seen in the Dutch defense. Of course, the idea of this move is after the queen moves to the light squares, he is going to bring his queen to H5, and after possibly pushing this pawn here or exchanging it, he can bring this bishop to H3 and exchanging the light square bishop and putting pressure on white's king side. The next move is castles by white, and black follows the plan that I described last move, queen to H5. Now white plays F3. He wants to keep the knight out of G5. If, like for example, he wants to prevent this knight from jumping in here to G5 and possibly threatening mate at H2. So he plays this defensive move of F3. Black plays F takes E4, and now white plays F takes E4. Kind of goes against what I just said about keeping this knight out of G4. I think a better recapture would have been with the D pawn and then opening up the D file, and possibly if this, and of course I'm sorry, the D6 pawn would be a backwards pawn for black, and this could be a future target for white to play against. But in the game, black played after black played F takes E4, white played F takes E4 also. And now black plays bishop to H3, and white plays bishop takes H3. Now I never capture the bishop at H3 with my bishop. allowing black to bring his queen to h3, which was exactly what happens here in the game. Because now what you have to look at is how is white going to get rid of this queen on h3. Of course, white can play his rook up to h2 and then bring the queen over to f1 to dislodge the queen. But that all takes time, and it takes away the white's plan of playing on the queen side. Black can very easily just retreat this queen, and of course black has the open f-file, as does white. The bottom line is that white will be weak on the light squares here on the king side. Also, let's go back to the move after black played bishop to h3. At this point in the game, white is really in a bad position, and with the h-file open, another move that's actually was suggested by Fritz, which according to the computer is actually the better move, and it's really, even though it's a better move, it's still very complicated, and black would still have the advantage. And what Fritz recommended was the move 13 knight to f4. After these following exchanges, e takes f4, queen takes h5, knight takes h5, bishop takes h3, f takes g3, bishop to e3, rook takes f1, bishop takes f1, g takes h2, and king takes g2. Black is still up a pawn. He'll have two passed pawns on the king side, which white will have to contend with, and it'll be a very interesting game, and most probably the end black should win. So that was really the best move suggested by Fritz in this position. I don't think many players would have thought that by playing a knight to f4, allowing it to be captured with no obvious compensation. I mean, you'd have to go, of course the computer can figure out these moves, but I think most players might have rejected it, except maybe some masters, grandmasters, etc. But anyway, let's get back to the game. Let's go back to the move bishop to h3. Black had just played. White plays bishop takes h3, and now black played queen takes h3, and you can see my notations about possibly, or the arrows about chasing the black queen away. White plays rook to f2, and now black plays knight to g4, attacking the rook, so the rook moves over to g2, and this prevents white from bringing that queen over to f1 to chase away the black queen. Also, if you think back, I also suggested that white should have recaptured on f4 with the d pawn. He would have still had a pawn here, and that would have given white the ability to prevent this move. Also, you'd have to look at that this rook could also be attacking the undefended pawn at f3. So there's a lot of things you got to look at. But anyway, in the game, white played rook to g2, and black's next move is rook to f7, planning on doubling the rooks on the f-file. White brings his queen to e1. Now rook at a to f8, doubling the rooks and putting pressure here on the f1 square. White plays knight to d1, which you might think was a very good defensive move. Keep, protecting the f2 square, and also possibly maybe bringing the knight. Well, I'm sorry, can't bring the. Yeah, you could bring the knight to e3, and also protecting the f1 square and attacking the knight at g4. This looks very good, like a very good move, but actually this is a losing move, and possibly a better move would have been bishop to f4, again with this idea of maybe trying to block this f-file. g5, king to h1, g takes f4, and black would have still had a very strong attack. Just one little variation. Like I said, white's in very, very desperate straits here. But let's get back to the game. After, like I said, white had played 17 knight to d1, which on the surface looks like a very good move, but black has a very, very strong response to this move, which ends the game, and that is knight takes h2. And the reason white resigned is because black has total control over the f1 square, 2 rooks and a knight, controlling the square, which allows him to deliver mate. We can look at some quick variations here. After knight takes h2, if white decides to play rook takes h2, the moves would be rook to f1 check, queen takes f1, and queen to f1 mate. Another possibility after knight takes h2 could be rook to f2. Then the moves would be rook takes f2, knight to f4 blocking the f file, rook at 8 takes f4, queen takes f2, and these are all variations by Fritz, who is a much better player than I am. Rook takes f2, knight to e3, defending the f1 square, knight to g4, knight takes g4, and then rook to f1 checkmate. And the last variation I'm going to look at after the move knight takes h2 is queen to f2, giving up the queen, trying to prevent mate. Rook takes f2, knight takes f2, knight to f3 is check, king to f1, knight to h4, g takes h4, and now queen to d3, and white forks the rook at b1 and the knight and pins the knight at d2, and black has a very strong attack here and would end up winning the game. He has a queen and 2 pawns for rook and a knight, which if you look at the scale would be 11 points versus 8 points, and white is going to win more material. He also is attacking the c4 pawn. So anyway, that's the game. I hope you enjoyed it. You can see how black played a very good attacking game here. He had a very good setup. He used his queen and bishop to infiltrate white's king side. He doubled his rooks on the f file, and he took away all white's play on the queen side. He controlled the d5 square, and white really never had a chance to get his game going. I want to go back just one point here in the game. Let me see if I can find it real quick here. If you kind of look at the board here, this knight at e2 really doesn't have any squares to go to. It really cramps the position of white. He can't play his knight to here, 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 or here, or here. And this knight at e2 is a hindrance to white's ability to defend his position. I wanted to point that out earlier in the game, but I forgot. But anyway, that's my game. I hope you enjoyed it, and until next time, thank you very much.